We see a man looking over his circuit board. He's figuring out what wire goes to where. He starts to sweat. He's stressing where things go. A single drop of sweat is about to drop on the board. He grabs a rag and wipes it off. Finally, he's ready to test his creation and types in a command. He reads the result. It is correct. They have done it. But first, let's go back a few decades. Back to when James Van Tassel was born. It is the end of the 1920s. Jazz is becoming a popular form of music. Vacuum cleaners are also coming forth as another new appliance for the new age after the war. And now, a new person is coming into this wonderful and wacky world. On February 15th, 1929, in La Crosse, Wisconsin, James Henry Van Tassel was brought into this world. He was born to Agnes Van Tassel and John Van Tassel. James's father died 3 years later because his lungs were worn out from being gassed in the First World War. His mother was a school teacher, and while he was growing up, he helped out his mother financially by doing some jobs around the town. One job, for instance, was picking corn. Whilst he was doing this, he was also going to high school at La Crosse Central High School. It was a normal grade school life for James, so we won't be touching on that much. After grade school, he went to La Crosse State Teachers College so that he could become a teacher. After college, he got a job at John's Military Academy in Delafield, Wisconsin. His job was teaching chemistry. Something that the college also slipped in his contract was that he would be teaching the band at the college. Now that he was employed there, he could also become a lieutenant in the National Guard. But then suddenly, the Korean War happened, and he was drafted into it as a private. He served in the Army for 2 years. After he was discharged, he then attended the Texas Technological College for some more education. Then after going to said college, he went to Princeton University for a year of postdoctoral study. After going to all these establishments to learn more, he then joined a tech company in Texas, aptly named Texas Instruments. I'm sure you've heard of it. In fact, I'm positive you have one of their products in your backpack right now. Yes, I'm talking about the calculator. But how did they start developing these calculators? TI first started out in the transistor and semiconductor industry, and throughout the years they have quickly grew in numbers and in products. But what was one of their most popular products? Well, remember James and him joining TI? He might have something to do with it. Soon after joining TI, James, or Jim as he liked to be called, met his wife, Mary Lou. They met because some mutual friends set them up on a blind date. Then later that year, they got married on December 23rd, 1961. Anyways, back to the calculator. Jim was approached by a man named Jack Kilby to work on something that the higher-ups told them to do, to make something that was really useful, more affordable, and easier to use. As you probably guessed, it was the calculator that the higher-ups were asking them to miniaturize. But what was the calculator back then? Well, they looked like this, big and clunky and very expensive. One of these would run you, at the time, $3,200. Adjusting for inflation, that would mean that in today's money, the calculator would be worth roughly $30,000, or $28,351. But who's counting? So you can see the appeal for something smaller and cheaper. And so did TI. TI told Jack Kilby to get it done. Also, who is Jack Kilby? Jack was the inventor for miniaturized electronic circuits, otherwise known as the microchip. He was great at applying the microchips to things. Basically, you guys should be very grateful to this guy. He made it so that you're able to do all the TikToking you want. Anyways, this man approached Jim and said that he would like him to be on the team to help create the first miniaturized calculator. Jim agreed. They labored long and hard for an entire year, and finally they got it. One witness to this said,
So it was in the late 60s that they started to work on this. And I remember going over and looking at it when it was a working model. Gramps came home and he had dinner. He said, I want to take you over and see something that I've been working on. And I'm very excited about it. So I got a babysitter to stay at the house and take care of the babies. And I went over and I saw this device, and the guys were all, just the three of them were all so excited. It was working, this thing they had worked on all this time. And it was going to be the wave of the future. Everybody was going to have one of these. And I thought, I couldn't envision it. But if you tell me that, that's okay.
They then swiftly patented the calculator, and now the calculator is the staple for TI Incorporated. Then Jim later went to France to oversee production in some factories in Europe. He spent 20 years in TI, and most of them were in Dallas, Texas, where TI's headquarters is. He then later moved back to the United States. He was then approached by the NCR Corporation, aka the National Cash Register Corporation. He accepted and was moved to Dayton, Ohio. He was hired as the vice president for microelectronics. NCR was known for working on cash registers. The thing that Jim was working on was the toy department of the company, such as retro video games and 80s toys. Sometimes he would come home with them and let his children play with the prototypes.
These things were around, yeah. And all the games, and Simon, and well, I don't know what all the games were. I knew they were having fun. That was fine. So yeah, and Uncle Jim and your dad enjoyed it. It was part of life, and that gave both of them an interest in electronics, and also gave them a head start, because they were fortunate in that they had all this stuff around, and their dad could talk to them about it.
After working for NCR for a time, Jim later retired. Even in his retirement, Jim still liked to serve his community, so he served on numerous boards for things around where he retired. Some of those things included the Dayton Philharmonic Orchestra Board, Dayton Engineering and Science Foundation, the Advisory Board of the College of Engineering and Computer Science at the University. He also served on the Council of the Department of Chemical Engineering of the University of Kentucky, and a member of the Technical Advisory Board of Microelectronics and Computer Corporation, member of the Board of Directors of Sematech, member of the Board of Directors of Semiconductor Research Corporation, member of the Board of Directors of Chartered Semiconductor Manufacturing, member of the Microelectronic Advisory Board of the National Security Agency, and a member of the Board of Directors of the Mountain Computer Improvement Corporation. And there are so many more than that. He also received the Holly Medal, which is an award of AMSI for outstanding and unique acts of engineering nature, accomplishing a noteworthy and timely public benefit by one or more individuals for a single achievement, provided the contributors are equal and comparable. Whatever that means. Something that he also did was that he and his team was inducted into the Smithsonian Museum in 2008. Though even with a numerous amount of accomplishments comes the inevitable. Sadly, around 2017, he was diagnosed with cancer in his leg and later died because of it. He died on June 19, 2018, at the age of 89. That year, him and his wife celebrated a marriage that lasted 56 years, and that was the life of James H. Van Tassel. He had 2 children while he was alive. Thank goodness, otherwise I wouldn't be alive. For, I'm his grandson. I can't wait to see whatever he did in his life, what it will do for us in our lives today.